The story begins with some young boys who were working in the scorching sun, in jail clothes. They were digging holes in the middle of the desert. At that time, a boy named Buffbag could not bear this, and he deliberately bit his leg with a snake. After this, we see a boy named Stanley who was walking on the road. Suddenly, 2 shoes fell on his head from above, which made him fall too. The shoes were very good, so he decided to keep them. But when he was running with the shoes, suddenly the police arrested him for stealing shoes. Actually, the shoes belonged to the famous football player Clyde Livington, who donated these shoes. Now the police went to Stanley's house and gave his family the news of his arrest. So everyone thought that it was because of the curse on his family. After this, in the court, Stanley was sentenced to 18 months in Camp Green Lake. Stanley met Mr. Sir, who was very stingy. He warned Stanley not to try to escape from the camp because there is no water there outside. There were also many poisonous animals there, which had taken the lives of many people. He gave Stanley a uniform and told him to dig a 5-foot-long pit every day. If he found something useful, he could get a holiday. After this, the camp psychologist Dr. Pendansky introduced him to some boys. A boy named Zero was the youngest there, and he always kept quiet. Then during lunch, Stanley told everyone that he was caught in a fake case. Hearing this, even Zero was shocked. After this, we see that 100 years ago, Stanley's great-grandfather James had a lot of profit in his business. But one day, a robber named Barlow looted him. This thing was deeply shocking to him, and he came to the road. Now there was no other way, so he started working in a rich man's stable. There he fell in love with his boss's daughter. Then he asked an astrologer named Madame Zeroni how to win over the girl's heart. But Zeroni said that the girl is stupid and so James should go to America. But James did not listen to her and went to ask for her hand from the girl's father. But his father told James to bring a big fat pig to prove his ability. Now James went to Zeroni again, and Zeroni gave him a pig's child and told him to take it to the top of the mountain and give it water to drink. James promised that after he succeeded, he will take Zeroni to the top of the mountain so that he can be young again after doing penance there. Finally, the pig grew up and James went to the girl's father. But that girl turned out to be really stupid and started liking an old-aged man. Seeing this, James got angry and went to America. But in this situation, he forgot what he had promised Zeroni. Zeroni was very angry with his behavior, and he cursed the entire family of James. When Stanley was working in the camp, he suddenly found an ancient stone, which he immediately showed to the counselor. But he had no interest in the stones. 100 years ago, there was reign of Warden's grandfather Trout Walker. Nearby, a boy named Sam used to sell onions, and he fell in love with a teacher named Catherine. Here Stanley joined the group of X-Ray and his friends in the camp, and he was given the name of Caveman. One day he got a letter from his mother, whose stories he read, and he was very happy. Then Zero asked him what he was reading, because Zero didn't know how to read and write. Zero wanted Stanley to teach him how to read and write, but Stanley refused because he was very tired of all the work he did all day. Then one day, while digging, Stanley found something that had KB written on it. But suddenly X-Ray snatched it from Stanley and immediately gave it to the counselor so that he could get a day off. Then the counselor told Warden about it, who was actually a woman. She was happy with this new thing and gave a present to X-Ray and told everyone else to dig this hole more. After this, we go back 100 years, where Sam went to meet Miss Catherine and fixed her falling roof. Gradually their friendship turned into love, but the other men in the city started to get jealous because they also tried on Catherine, but she liked Sam. One day Trout Walker spoke to Catherine, but Catherine didn't even give her any respect. Then Trout saw Sam and Catherine kissing each other, and in anger, he burned Catherine's entire school. When Catherine complained to the police, the inspector tried to take advantage of her. The inspector said that Sam has made a relationship with a white girt, and instead of this crime, he will be sentenced to death. Catherine ran to tell Sam about this, but someone shot Sam in his boat. This gave Catherine such a deep shock that she decided to take revenge for Sam's death. Soon she shot the inspector and kissed his face. After this, she started to rob many rich lenders, and before leaving, she kissed them, after which she became famous as kissing Kate Barlow. After Sam's death, there was never any rain in that city. At present, one day Sir brought water for the boys, then a boy named Magnet stole a bag filled with seeds. When Sir knew about this, he decided to punish everyone. After all, Stanley took this on him and saved everyone's life. When Stanley went to the crazy warden, she, instead of punishing Stanley, slapped Sir. When Stanley returned, Zero dug a hole for Stanley because Stanley had saved everyone from the punishment. He was happy with this and started teaching Zero. One day when he was teaching Zero, he suddenly realized that the thing that came out of the pit was actually a lipstick whose owner was no one else but the famous Kate Barlow. Then Zero revealed that her real name is Hector Zeroni. Actually, she was from the family of Madame Zeroni, who cursed Stanley's great-grandfather 100 years ago. Anyway, one day the in-charge found out that Zero digs his pit instead of Stanley, so he insulted them both by calling them useless. Zero was so angry that he ran away after hitting the in-charge with a rod. When Warden got news of Zero's escape, she said that Zero would not be able to survive more than a week. We found out that Zero was an orphan. His mother had left him in a park. When Stanley heard this, he was very sad. Then at night, he remembered that his great-grandfather James spent 16 days in the desert. When Kate Barlow looted her car, her great-grandfather actually went to a place called God's Finger and saved his life. But no one knows where this place is, because when James was brought from there, he was completely crazy. Then the next day, Stanley also ran away to save Zero's life. After wandering in the desert for several hours, he found Zero under a boat. Zero told him that he found pickle boxes in the boat, which made him able to stay alive. This boat was also of Catherine's lover Sam's. After that, they both saw a mountain peak like a human's thumb. Soon Stanley realized that this is God's Finger Mountain. Now they both started climbing the mountain, but Zero got tired and collapsed halfway. But Stanley didn't leave his hand and took him to the peak by lifting him on his shoulders. Similarly, he unknowingly took the grandson of Madame Zeroni to the peak and fulfilled the promise of his great-grandfather. They found some water where Sam grew onions. The court declared Stanley innocent, and Stanley's lawyer came to take him from the camp. But the warden did not tell him that Stanley had run away. The next day, Zero told Stanley the truth, that Stanley had come to the camp because of him. Actually, it was Zero who stole shoes from the shop. But when the police caught up with him, he quickly threw the shoes down the bridge, which fell straight on Stanley. This did not hurt Stanley, because he had found the God's Finger Mount. After this, we go back 100 years, where Kate Barlow got Sam's boat in the dry desert. Kate sat there and started remembering her lover. But then Trout Walker and his wife arrived there. They pointed guns at Kate and told her to hand over all the money she had stolen. But Kate did not open her mouth, and soon a yellow lizard bit her, which killed her. After that day, the Trout Walker's family started digging in this desert and started looking for the Kate Barlow treasure. Here in reality, Stanley and Zero ran back to the camp, and they reached the ditch where they found the lipstick of the Kate Barlow. After digging there, they finally found the famous treasure of the Kate Barlow. But then Warden and Mr. Sir came there and took the treasure. But suddenly they moved back when they saw that the treasure was covered with poisonous yellow lizard. Warden waited for the lizard to move until the next morning so that they could steal the treasure. She was surprised to see that the lizards did not bite Stanley and Zero. But in reality, Stanley and Zero ate the onions of the mountain, which caused the lizards to say nothing. Soon, Stanley's lawyer took the police there. But then Warden accused both the boys of stealing her treasure. Suddenly Zero saw that James Yelnat's name was written on the trunk, which caught Warden's lie. Finally, Stanley got permission to take the treasure, and Warden and her gang were arrested. Suddenly, after 100 years, it rained in that desert. Finally, Stanley brought Zero home, and they shared the treasure. After this, Zero found his mother through a spy, and then it turns out that his mother had never left him. She was still looking for her son. Finally, Zero and Stanley bought a house together, and they also invited the other kids of the camp to their house